you're playing Lestat through someone's memories, did
Yeah.
you find that there were moments where it made more sense to be a bit more heightened with some of his emotions? Because again, it's all about perspective.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and I think like, you just go back to the book, the first book, and the way that she sort of like describes Lestat, or the way Louis describes Lestat, it's like there's a lot of like very hyperbolic sort of descriptions that, you can lean into. I mean, we don't go with like the dried twig. I mean, I actually think that we mention it in the first season, but like how that he does need to feel very extreme and on the edge, on the fringes of like what is acceptable and how much you can actually deal with him, because he is processed through like, a bunch of people who he's hurt um in those first two seasons. So you don't really have any quiet moments with him. But, Roland also, he's very adamant that the character does experience things at the height and at the highest level at which one can experience it, to the point where like, so we have to push it to the point like, is this is this believable? Can I believe it? Like, and it's but what it does is it creates a facility for a character to kind of go there to the extremes, and allows the show to kind of push to the parameters. Um, you know, and so like and Roland uses him as that device. One thing I always think about in this regard is like, there's this beautiful scene that Assad has, and he kind of like talks about his past, and you learn about Arun, and you see the painting behind him, and Lestat in the script is kind of like bubbling, boiling, boiling, bubbling, 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 looking at Louis. Louis is potentially going falling for it, bubbling, 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 and then just goes screams like ha at the end of it. And I felt I felt like it was a very complex thing to do to Armand in that scene, because it's such a beautiful speech, and you kind of just want to sit with it, and you want to sit with that character, and want to remember what you've seen or you've heard. But Roland keeps pushing us, or keeps pushing the audience to remember that these characters are sitting on the fringes of the extremity of emotion. So when they draw you in, it's also an artifice, even if they're becoming very small and becoming very, they're monsters, and so it should feel very jarring, and you should hate the stuff in that moment, because you should feel seduced by Armand. But that's Louis who's doing that. That's Louis who actually doesn't believe him, because he knows he's in another, like, bullshit relationship, basically. It's like